It's June 6, 1944. The Allied powers have just launched the most ambitious military operation in human history, a full-scale invasion of Nazi-occupied France, and the last-ditch effort to turn the tide of World War II. This day would go down in history as D-Day. D-Day was the unified effort of the Allied military, the US, Canada, Britain, and Australia coming together to storm 5 beaches along the coast of Normandy. Not 4, 5. The beaches were Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. And this wasn't some impulsive attack. Months, and I mean months, arguably years of planning went into this single day. The Allies even ran a massive fake operation called Operation Bodyguard, setting up a ghost army commanded by General Patton, just to trick Hitler into thinking the invasion was happening somewhere else. And it worked. But make no mistake, this was one of the bloodiest days in American military history. Omaha Beach alone was a slaughterhouse. American soldiers had to run straight into a German machine gun fire just to reach the sand. Thousands and thousands of men died before they even made it off the beach. Over 4,000 Allied soldiers lost their lives in a single day. Thankfully, the Allies pushed through. Nazi Germany was stopped. Hitler's grip on Europe was broken, and the world as we know was saved. But what if it wasn't? What if the Nazis won World War II? Now, for this to work, we have to rewind just a little bit. See, one of the biggest reasons Nazi Germany actually lost the war is something most people never talk about. Hitler's own obsession with persecuting Jewish people ended up being one of his greatest military mistakes. Because the Jewish scientists, guys like Albert Einstein, they didn't stay in Germany, they fled. And when they fled, they brought their brilliance straight to America. Those same Jewish scientists became the backbone of the Manhattan Project, the program that built the first atomic bomb, the weapon that ended the war. So let's just say in our timeline, Hitler makes a different call. Early on, he keeps the Jewish scientists close. He funds them. He uses them because he knows he needs that weapon more than he needs to act on his hatred. And at this time, Nazi Germany builds the first ever atomic bomb. So it's 1944. Germany has the bomb, nobody else does, and they don't waste any time. They sail out into Atlantic Ocean just off the coast of Britain, and they detonate it. Just one test, just one demonstration, and they send a very simple message to London: surrender or else. Britain, they fold. And honestly, can you blame them? You just saw the first ever atomic bomb. You have no clue what type of wizardy magic they used for that to happen. How could you? Now, here's where it gets really dark, because Britain folding doesn't just mean Britain is done. Britain was the head of Canada. Canada was a British dominion, meaning they followed Britain's lead. The moment Britain goes down, Canada loses its biggest ally and its biggest protector overnight, just like that. Now, let's zoom out and look at the full picture, because at this point, Nazi Germany isn't just a country anymore. They control all of continental Europe, every single nation. They've swept across North Africa, they pushed into the Middle East, and that last part, that's the one that really matters. Because now, they control the oil. All of it. The entire world's oil supply is flowing directly into Nazi Germany. They have unlimited fuel, unlimited resources, and a nuclear weapon nobody else has. Their military isn't just powerful at this point, it's quite literally unstoppable. And America is now standing alone. The US is massive, they control the seas. They're not going to fold easy, and the Nazis, they know this. So they don't just knock on the front door, they build a trap. And this is where stuff gets quite terrifying. Germany already had a massive naval presence in the South Atlantic during the Real War, submarines patrolling those waters constantly. In our timeline, they used those same routes to quietly move troops and supplies into Brazil. Now you're probably thinking, why Brazil? Because Brazil actually had the largest German immigrant population at the time. Nazi sympathy was already there. It wasn't hard to establish a foothold. And from Brazil, they pushed north, through South America, through Central America, until they're knocking on Mexico's door. And here's where it gets kind of crazy, because Germany doesn't have to force Mexico, they simply make them an offer. See, Mexico in the 1940s was politically unstable and had serious anti-American sentiment. And the reason goes way back. The Mexican-American War, the annexation of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Mexicans hadn't forgotten. So Germany walks in and says, hey, you help us and we'll give you that all back. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, it's all yours again. And here's the craziest part, this isn't even a new idea. Germany tried this exact move in World War I. It was actually called the Zimmermann Telegram. It was a secret message Germany sent to Mexico in 1917, offering them American territory in exchange for joining the Nazi movement. Now, Mexico didn't take the deal back then, but in our timeline, let's just say they do. Now, Nazi forces sit on the entire southern US border, from California all the way to Texas. The South is completely exposed. Now, let's go north. Britain has surrendered, and with Britain under Nazi control, Germany pressures the new British puppet government to hand over Canadian cooperation. Nazi forces move into Canada from the Atlantic coast, pushing west, targeting the Great Lakes region. And you're probably thinking, why the Great Lakes? Because that's America's industrial heartland. Detroit, Chicago, the factories, the steel mills, the places where American tanks, planes, and weapons were literally being built. You don't just beat America on the battlefield. You beat America by cutting off its ability to build the battlefield. That's exactly what Germany is going for. Now, let's go west. Japan already controlled most of the Pacific by 1942 in real history. In our timeline, with America now fighting threats on two land borders, Japan sees its opening. They launch a full naval blockade of the entire West Coast. California, Oregon, and Washington are all blocked off. The West Coast is under siege. America can't get supplies in or out from the Pacific. So let's recap at what America is looking at right now. Nazi forces are massing on the southern border right through Mexico. Nazi-backed troops pushing down from Canada, targeting the industrial Midwest. Japan strangling the entire West Coast from the sea. And Britain is gone. Europe is gone. Africa is gone. The Middle East is gone. And Germany still has the nuclear bomb. So they send one final message to America. Surrender, or we pick a city. Just to show they're serious, they detonate another test bomb, this time over the Atlantic. Close enough that the shockwave rattles windows on the East Coast, close enough that every American can feel the threat of the first nuclear bomb. And if Washington refuses, the invasion begins. Nazi forces push north from Mexico into Texas and California at the same time. German-backed troops drive south from Canada, straight into Detroit and Chicago, trying to kill America's war machine before it can even fire up. Japan lands troops on the Californian coast, and Germany drops a nuclear bomb on Norfolk, Virginia, the largest US naval base in the country. The US Navy is crippled in a single moment. Now, before we talk about how realistic this is, could this have actually happened? Let's talk about what life would have been like for you if Nazi took over America. What would your life look like in Nazi America? This isn't just about war and politics. This is about waking up one morning and the entire world you know is now gone. Now, first things first, let's talk about guns, because us Americans, we love our guns. The first thing the Nazi regime does is confiscation. Every civilian weapon gone, door to door if they have to, because an armed population is a dangerous population, and the Nazis know that. You hand over your weapons or you face the consequences. No Second Amendment, no rights, no constitution, you comply. Now, here's where it gets really dark and personal, because what happens to you depends almost entirely on what you look like. If you were a white American, blue eyes, light hair, what the Nazis called superior features, you weren't necessarily going to be killed. You were going to be given a choice. Granted, I do use the word choice very lightly. There will be conversion camps, re-education centers, places where they would systematically strip away everything you believed, your culture, your identity, your values, and replace it with Nazi ideology. You either bend the knee and swear your loyalty to the Nazis, or else. Military service would have been mandatory. You pick up a weapon for their army, you fight for their cause. Your sons, your brothers, your father, all drafted into a military, fighting to expand the very own regime that just took over your very own country. As for black Americans, Nazi racial ideology considered black people subhuman. We saw it in 1936 when Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals at the Berlin Olympics, and Hitler refused to even acknowledge him, refused to shake his hand, He was quite literally furious that a black man had outperformed his so-called master race on the world stage. In a Nazi-occupied America, black Americans would have faced concentration camps, forced labor, or worse. There's no sugarcoating that. As for Latino Americans, this one's really complicated. Nazi racial hierarchy wasn't always consistent. Lighter-skinned Latinos may have been given conditional pass, deemed acceptable enough to assimilate, but darker-skinned Latinos, they were treated as inferior. Forced labor, segregation, and concentration camps. And keep in mind, Mexico in this scenario helped Germany get here. That doesn't mean Mexican Americans get protected. The Nazis used people and then discarded them. And as for Jewish Americans, we already know this answer. It would have been exactly what happened in Europe. Identification, segregation, deportation, extermination. The Holocaust didn't just happen because of geography, it happened because of an ideology. As for Asian Americans, here's where it gets a little interesting. Japan was actually a Nazi ally. So in this scenario, Japanese Americans may have had a complicated kind of protected status, but Chinese Americans, Korean Americans, Filipino Americans, they were all bound for the same persecution. And here's a really messed up part, because as far as Native Americans go, Hitler actually admired the way the United States persecuted Native Americans. The reservation system, the forced relocations, the systematic destruction of culture, he admired it. It literally helped inspire the concentration camp model. In a Nazi America, Native Americans would have faced some of the most brutal treatment of anyone. Hitler would have simply seen it as finishing what the Americans had already started. Now let's talk about the kids, because the most terrifying part of Nazi occupation wasn't the violence, it was the patience. From the moment a child could walk and talk, the school system would have been redesigned from the ground up. Racial superiority was taught as a fact, not an opinion. Not as history, not as science, but as a truth and the only truth. Children would have been taught that some people are simply worth more than others based on the color of their skin. That loyalty to the state is the highest virtue. You see, the Nazis understood something deeply sinister. If you control what children learn now, you don't need to force the next generation to comply. They'll comply on their own. And as far as the media, forget everything you know about the internet. Social media, free press, independent journalism, gone. All of it. Every newspaper, every radio station, every television broadcast is all controlled by the state. No more Mr. Beast videos. What you see is what they want you to see. Propaganda pushed out around the clock. Posters on every wall, speeches on every channel, the kind of media control that makes North Korea today look mild by comparison. You wouldn't even know what was happening 2 states over. You wouldn't know if there was a resistance, you wouldn't know if the war was still going on, you would only know what the state decided to tell you. That is the world Nazi Germany built in Europe, and that is quite literally the world they would have built here. Now here's the big question. Would America actually have surrendered? Could this have actually happened? Because this plan on paper could theoretically have worked, but let's be real. We're talking about the United States of America here. I want to say as a true American, not a chance. But with the nuclear bomb race being won by Nazi Germany, the outcome could have been very, very different. Although Germany wouldn't have just had a walk in the park. America had and still has one of the most armed civilian populations on the planet. You're not just fighting the US military, you're fighting every farmer in Texas with a rifle, every hunter in Montana, every family in the Midwest who isn't going to just hand over their home. The guerrilla warfare alone would have been absolutely brutal. Towns, cities, fields, every single mile of American soil would have been a fight. Ooh, I just got the chills thinking of that. If you're watching this from Texas, you probably know. If you want it, come take it. Come and take it. And as far as America's geography goes, it's massive. Even with all this, Germany is stretching supply lines thousands and thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean. Those supply lines are very vulnerable. One bad storm season, one coordinated submarine attack, and suddenly Nazi troops can't get food in Texas. No fuel, no ammunition, no orders. And here's the truth, when America gets attacked, they typically respond to it by uniting. Pearl Harbor didn't scare America out of the war, it dragged them in harder. A nuclear bomb on American soil might have done the same thing. Nazi Germany could have created the most ferocious resistance movement the world had ever seen. So to think that America would have surrendered is actually a pretty delusional thought. If Nazi Germany would have actually bombed the US, they would have created the most bloody guerrilla warfare of all time. I genuinely believe Nazis would have had to fight America town by town, city by city, to the very last bullet. That is exactly why D-Day is one of the most important days in modern day history, not just for Americans, but the free world. Huge shout out to all the soldiers that fought on June 6, 1944. Y'all are truly heroes, not just for Americans, but the whole free world. If you like this video, this big what if, I recommend you subscribe. If you came here from my TikTok or my Instagram, man, I really do appreciate you. I'm gonna continue to do more of these videos, kind of historic videos, military videos, because I'm gonna join the Air Force ROTC starting next semester. So I kind of want to niche down a little bit. I think I post a little too much bullshit on social media, so I want to provide a little more value. You know, I've been thinking about my career in social media going long term, and I don't just want to make shirtless TikTok dances and talk about a lot of bullshit on Instagram. So I want to provide a little more value. So if y'all would really appreciate if y'all hit the big subscribe button and come back for the next video. Peace.